In this video, we're going to continue to set the foundation for our Android gyroscope robot remote. That was a mouthful, but basically, when we tilt the phone, the robot will go. We're taking this in steps, so we're not going to add the gyroscope just yet. In this step, we're just going to pass values to the Arduino when we press a button on the Android device. My project is on my Raspberry Pi, so I'm going to log in and we'll start out in App Inventor. I'll open the project where we left off in Turbo Tinker 22. Open the project and drag a horizontal alignment container over. That will eventually hold the values from the gyroscope. Drag two labels inside the container, center them, increase the font to 32 pixels, set the width to fill the parent, set the text to x equals and y equals, and call them x label and y label. If you're doing this project, you can refer to the blog in the description if you didn't catch all that, but I recommend watching through the video first to get an overall picture of what we're doing. The values will eventually come from the gyroscope, but I think it's usually a good idea to add features in small steps that you can test. That way, if there's a problem, it's easier to track down. For now, we're going to add a button next to each of the labels. Set the text to Test X and Test Y, and you can name them the same. They're just temporary. Go into Blocks View, click on Test X, and drag the When Click event over. Remember, an event is something that's going to cause your blocks to run when something else happens, in this case a click. We're going to send text to the Bluetooth client when we click the button. For the text, we'll actually send a number, which is under Math. This is going to simulate what our gyroscope will eventually be sending. Drag over another block and send a string this time, X. We'll also set the label that will eventually hold our gyroscope reading to x equals 111. Duplicate the block and set everything to Y. Next, we'll head over to the Arduino sketch. The first thing I'd like to do is switch from using the physical transmit and receive pins to GPIO pins 2 and 3. The reason for this is that if we use the transmit and receive pins, then we can't upload the sketch without unplugging them. Not only is that a pain, but if you're anything like me, you may forget about that later and wonder why you're getting an error. There's a library called Software Serial, and it's used to make regular input-output pins act like serial pins. I'm going to include the library, and that sets it up for us to use. Then I'll set the receive pin to 3, transmit to 2. Then I can move them over from pins 0 and 1. Our variable was an integer, but we're going to need that to hold a string. Then I'm going to create two floats. A float is a type of decimal number. These will eventually store the values coming across from the phone's gyroscope as we tilt it. I'll add another line for our new serial connection using Software Serial, also 9600 bauds. Then we'll delete everything in the loop. We'll create a while loop that will continually check to see if anything has come across the serial pins 2 and 3 that we've hooked the Bluetooth module to. Remember that when we push the button, the phone will send the string 111X or 222Y. The X or Y at the end of the string will tell the Arduino whether the value it just read is from the X or Y axis. So as we loop, we're going to read those values one at a time. First 1, then 1, then 1, then X. Each loop, it will concatenate or combine those values together. So once it gets to the X, we'll have the value 111 in our variable. So once we have 111X, we'll print the value out, set our variables back to 0, and then continue looping. Once we get to our robot, we're going to use those values to determine the direction and speed of the wheels. When I go to upload it, it tries to compile, and as you can see, I have a typo that it caught. Now we're ready to test our project. From App Inventor, click Connect and AI Companion. Go to the Android device, open the AI Companion, and scan or type the QR code. Connect to the Bluetooth module. I'll open the serial monitor on the Arduino, and as I click on the buttons, you can see the values coming across. In Turbo Tinker 24, we'll build on this and add the Android's gyroscope and pass those values to the Arduino.